Coast, and 9 a.m. on the West Coast, and 11 a.m. in the Midwest and Central. So we are going to go ahead and get started. For my admins, can we go ahead and start the recording if we have not already? Hello, everyone. My name is Chinelo Ezeka. I am the ACF YA East Region Director. And before we jump into this session, I would love for us to begin with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you, oh God. We thank you for the opportunity to continue serving you through ACF, to continue doing your work by devising a strategy and a plan to develop ACF from today and for years to come, oh Lord, my God. I thank you for each and every single person who is a part of this session. I thank you for everyone who has come to learn more about you through the work that we're doing in the missions field. I thank you for our speakers and our panelists, oh Lord, who are serving you in this capacity, oh God. Father God, I pray that you touch each and every single one of us, that you speak to each and every one of us, oh God, and you move us to continue doing your will, oh Lord, in our respective capacities. We worship you and we pray that your will be done in this session, oh Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I would love to welcome you all to our first ACF Leadership Skills Training Series for 2021. Today's session topic is called Vision 2030, ACF USA Pathway for Success. I am so excited that you all are here with us. In today's session, we will focus on the current state of ACF missions and strategies for achieving the Vision 2030 objectives. The key objectives that we are hoping to attain from today's sessions are to 1, deepen the organizational understanding and develop buy-in to the Vision 2030 strategy. And then 2, equip chapter and regional mission teams to effectively implement the Vision 2030 strategy. So, in order for us to effectively do that, we have some dynamic presenters who will provide a brief presentation that aligns with our objectives. And then we'll end our session with a panel discussion to help us understand what our role as ACF members can be as it pertains to missions. Now, before I present our presenters and panelists, I do want to review some housekeeping rules for today's session. Notice that as you have entered this session, you are intentionally muted. And if you haven't been muted, or if you notice that you are not on mute, please be sure to mute yourself. If you notice, this meeting is being recorded. The recording of today's session, as well as all of the resources, including the PowerPoints, will all be made available and shared via email. If you have questions, please post the comments in the chat, which I will read out loud during the Q&A, or type in the chat that you request to be unmuted or use the raised hand feature. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to first introduce our first speaker. Dr. Linus Ojuku is from our South California chapter. He is the CEO of a family-owned and operated small business in Southern California since 1995. He currently serves as the director of the ACF National Missions Council and the missions director of ACF West Region. And he is also the interim president of Adic Missions International. And we are so excited to hear from him this morning. Uncle Linus, I will pass it on over to you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I consider myself the most excited of every person on the line today. I will give a brief background before I step into the future. I consider this a historic moment and a testament to how far we have come as an organization. A time we can come together and to discuss exclusively nothing but missions as a subject. It has not always been this easy to talk about missions, as some of you on the line would attest to. But I want to thank the chairman, the board, and our able ED for the work they have done over these years. It used to be that the word missions was dreaded and conjured up an image of a people that would leave their rich cities and luxurious homes to be dumped in remote, dangerous villages in Africa, where they could be cannibalized and starved to death. People in ACF dreaded it, and we cleverly coined the phrase connecting with the continent because people were so scared about these world missions. Thank God that those days are gone. We know better, but we still have a work to do. And should not rest until missions characterizes every ACF USA program until it brands and defines us. Do not get me wrong, all those core areas are important, but mission should clearly be the arrowhead and leads and points the way, that leads and points the way. It reminds me about the dialogue Christ had with Mary and Martha. They were concerned about so many programs and projects, but the Lord says, Mary has chosen what is better. I believe that mission is what is better for us as an organization to lead us to where God has designed us to go. The next slide, please. Yes, I said, and I said boldly, God is a missionary. He's always seeking for the lost. And that is what being a Christian is all about. ACF USA was founded as a mission organization. That was clearly stated to us during the last national conference in Houston, that has always been God's intent, to get ACF to focus on missions. We came into this boat from many pathways, but not by accident. God has always known that our paths will cross and that he will use us to walk in this area. I believe that missions defines, energizes, gives meaning, and provides a platform for the utilization of God's gifts, more than any program we can come up with. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the Lord calls out everything we have, our talents, our giftings, and everything to bear upon what he has asked us to do. Next slide. Mission, as we say, is a mandate. It's not optional. And this picture was captured in Central African Republic, in the city of Bangui, where people were crashing the gate, wanting to hear, wanting to know more about Christ. I believe, will be crystallized more as the subsequent speakers engage in various aspects of this program. Next slide. ACF USA board in 2017 established the National Mission Council, and I think it was a very clever and smart move. When I was on the board, this used to be housed in the board, and they decided to gather the mission directors and put them together to begin to look at how ACF can harness all the strengths and energies that reside in different regions and bring it together so that from this point we'll have a panoramic view of what is going on in ACF as a body. Next slide. So what is the purpose? The purpose of the ACF US National Mission Council is to maintain vision clarity and avoid mission drift. Support the ongoing effort of the various mission teams and empower them to act decisively in the field. Provide a roadmap for actualizing the reconnecting with the continent, aspiration of the fellowship, and so on and so forth, as the Lord has asked us to do. Next slide, please. Next slide. So why that comes of this purpose of NMC gives us a holistic approach as we view what mission is about and what God has called us to do. It brings everybody together on the same table to know what goes on, like I stated. So that we know what's happening in the East, know what's happening in the West, know what's happening in the South, and that way we can leverage on each other's strength and not repeat the mistakes someone has already made. Next slide. So let me summarize by saying that from my overview, because Brother Paddy and Jimmy will be the ones that will give us a lot more details about what God has called us to do. We lose sight of this. If we lose sight of the missions, we become another African organization in USA like Towns Meeting. We must be very careful because ACF is a spiritual organization. We cannot afford to remove mission. Otherwise, like I said, everything falls apart. We must intentionally become members of a club for non-members. That's what God has called us to do, become members club from non-members. God divinely walked us into this association. We are individually parts of a whole. If you are our eyes, how good is your vision? If you are our legs, how swiftly do you walk? If God gave you talent, career, or business, how well is that aligned with his purpose? The Bible clearly tells us that to whom much is given, much is required. God has given us more and much more, and we need to bring all these things to bear upon what we are doing. When God calls for us to, as an organization, comfort and be part of this, I want to encourage us. This is multi-generational. The reason we are here is because God has brought us together to work and make sure that we impact the lives of people beyond our personal needs and families. That's why God has brought us together, and we can never lose sight of this. That is the reason ACF was founded. That is the reason we are called to work in various areas. That's the reason God has equipped and given us multi-talents. That is the reason God has invested in us at various levels. And finally, let me talk about what we do with funding, because we're always saying, oh, we don't have the means, and we're always looking at outside sources and all of this. How can we fund what God has given to us? What God is asking us to do is to look within ourselves. We have what it takes to do what God has called us to do. I'm reminded of Christ feeding the 5,000 when he asked the disciples, what do you have? They started looking at, we don't have enough. How can we do this? The task is enormous. We can't do it. But the Lord said, what do you have? And he provided 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Christ multiplied it. I want to encourage ACF to always look at inward and look at Christ's pocket and not at our pocket. God can do what he has called us to do if we always rely on him. He will multiply what we have, and we can feed thousands and have 12 baskets left. God bless you. I'll hand it over to Paddy and Jimmy, who will give us a more extensive explanation of what this is all about. Mine is just an overview. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Linus. We really appreciate that. There's one really important takeaway that I actually wrote down, and it's that mission gives us a platform to showcase our talents and gifts. And as I introduce Uncle Patty, I'm really excited to see how we as ACF members who have been on the missions field have been able to showcase our mission, our talents, and our gifts. Let me introduce to you all our next speaker. Dr. David Patty has 31 years of experience as a technology advisor for an international organization. He is currently the East Regional Representative to the ACF National Board and a member of the ACF USA National Mission Council. He has also served in various capacities in ACF. Uncle Patty, we are excited and delighted to hear you present.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited today because missionary work or mission work, the habit of God, the mandate, I'm always excited. And God knows that's why in my time of work for my organization, the Lord took me to places like Iraq, where in that aspect, I did a lot of mission. And those ones, I call myself cross-cultural missionary. Tajikistan, a lot of missionary work, underground churches. But ACF now is where the Lord has placed me and placed you and I. So thank you so much. First slide, space. Sorry about that. So let's start with slides. Very good. I'm going to whet your appetites by telling you where we are today. And Professor Jamie will tell you where we're going. So through the medical and educational and economic empowerment intervention. As a matter of fact, you and I, we were involved in all this, but occasionally we have to remind ourselves of what we have achieved, just to excite us to move on. So as you can see, all the 4 regions, the work we do in Africa, if you see the pink down there, this is where we are. And honestly, I've been saying there's the need to reach the unreached, the Muslims. So prepare yourself, ACF, we have to go to Mali and all those green areas where we're not there yet. But by the grace of God, we'll go there. Next slide. ACF mission sites in Africa. We are in Uganda, Benin Republic, Mali, Sierra Leone, the Democratic Republic of Congo. But I must say that Central African Republic, like Brother Linus mentioned, we are there, so it has to be there. It has to be included. Next slides. ACF strategic programs and project of impact. I'm reminding you again today that you are wonderful people having great impact in the continent of Africa. So please continue and support Africa with your missionary work that we do. So we have educational and child sponsorship, medical outreach, evangelism and discipleship, economic empowerment, health, education, primary care and dental care, eye examination and eyeglasses. As a matter of fact, on the left bottom, the green, and I agree with Brother Linus, if you take that one out, then we are like any other agency. Yeah, you see the evangelism, take it out. And all these people, non-Christian, they go and do all this without any objective or the mandate of the gospel. So we have that also embedded. And go back, please. Let me remind you that our annual budget is approximately, it could even be more, 200 to 250,000. 200 to 250,000. So thank you for all your financial support and your involvement. Next slide, please. Now, ACF clinics that are completed and operational. In Uganda, We have those you can see on the left, it's operational. And then we have Samuel Town in Sierra Leone is operational. One of the first class ultra-modern hospital with first-class eye clinic in Sierra Leone. As a matter of fact, it's rated in the West African region as the certified. So if they're looking for the best eye clinic in West Africa, that's the place they go to train people. And in Kigarama, Uganda, we have the outpatient and inpatient medical clinic in Uganda. As we're speaking today, we're sending money because we have full-time doctors and nurses over there and workers, which we have to support. So whether coronavirus or not, or whether we couldn't go, we remotely supporting this initiative we have in Africa. And we are impacting lives. And then in Kumi district, which I went there and I told the workers, how many rooms do you have? And they told me, oh no, I cannot. I said, this is your assignment. They said, I cannot count because it's a huge clinic. And this construction is for a grade 4 clinic with surgical units. And it's going to cost us around 200,000. And the project is ongoing. Keep going, please. Next slide. Pictures worth more than 1,000 words. So here is just a highlight of some outreach that we have. We have more, but just to show you some pictures. So this is in Uganda, Congo, and also in Malawi. Next slide. Next slide, yeah. There's health outreach in Malawi, a mobile clinic conducted in 2017, 18, and 19. You see, if you see this qualitative and quantitative here, 4 or 5 villages in 6 days, it's not easy. These are remote locations. And then 1,300 to 1,400 adults and children. I know we're doing a lot. And this is what the Lord demands us to help the needy and the poor. We provide primary health clinics, and those ones are the blood pressure related, where they use the machine to check and joints, pains, and other malaria related element that we support there. And then the dental clinics is the general hygiene and all those extraction. Annual project for this usually 45,000 to 50,000 per year. And you see some pictures at the right. Next slide, please. This is amazing, amazing, amazing ACF humanitarian outreach. You know what? Water is life. If you go to, yes, you know, water is life. So you provide this water to these people, you save lives. And this is what we're doing. We have 2018 sponsor a borehole water in the school compound. Imagine when I was growing in the village, you carry this water, but now right, they have it so they can drink and it's clean. And then also borehole project in Congo for the orphanage. Wow. And we also have in Benin Republic. So those are the pictures. We just show you what you and I have achieved. Next slide, please. Economic empowerment. Wow, food. It's exciting. The microfinance project in Benin Republic, where we provide 300, a small business loan, 300 to 500 to pastors and church leaders. Currently, we said 13, but I think it's increasing. And also we have the Agri projects. We invested approximately 10,000. And ACF have a farm. Probably you, if you know how to farm, one of the days you come with us to Uganda. And it's a 14-acre land. And the graduates are planning piggery farm. As a matter of fact, that piggery farm, I don't have the picture, but the picture they showed last time is progressing. And this will be a self-sustainable project, meaning you sell the pig, we get money to back and help ongoing project over there. And the project is approximately almost 30,000. Construction is in progress. Keep going, please. Next slide. Wow. Education, education, education. ACF has education project in Africa. The two key ones, really. There's the construction of the primary school in Kampala. It costs, the nursery is around $55,000 and the primary is about $210,000. And it's progressing so fast. At the top there, you see where we are today. And there has been some renovation of daycare center in Malawi. Also, furniture is being bought for the schools. And we are providing $400 per month for daily hot meal. Imagine if ACF is not there, these poor kids, they have no food, or they have not enough food to eat before even they can study. The plan is to add the K6 grade and 3 classroom blocks. Another construction of a primary school project in Malawi, Chipondi. The project costs around $250,000. And the plan is for 6 classroom block, staff room, and quarters for missionaries. Next slide, please.
At your 2-minute mark.
Yeah, that's the last slide here. Last verse 2. So these are sponsors children. If you want to do $250 per year and $700 per diploma per year for primary and per diploma, and $1,000 to $2,000 for university. We graduated more than 100 students. Many are not married. Some are working in reputable primary, private and government institutions. They have alumni where they launch endowment fund to assist. Next slide, please. The last one. The evangelism. Without that, I would say, then there's no missionary work or no mandate of the gospel. So some are crusade. We have a churches in Benin, and this is what you can see. And finally, I want to say that, you can take it down. I want to say that in Isaiah 58, he said, this is the type that break the chains and the yoke, and loose the chains and the bonds and the yoke, providing shelter to the poor, clothing the naked, and feeding the hungry. And we are doing this. So, brethren, may the Lord bless you. Never lose hope, never be discouraged. Keep on with the missionary effort. Because in Matthew chapter 28, verse 19, this is the mandate of the gospel. May God bless you. I'm so excited for what we do, ACF is doing. Clap for yourself. I wish you can clap for yourself. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Patty. Indeed, we are doing an amazing job as a body of Christ to take the gospel to the unreached places, but not only reaching them spiritually, reaching them physically, reaching them economically. I'm so proud of ourselves, and I hope that we are also proud of the work that we are doing. But just as Uncle Patty said, there's so much more to be done. So I'm excited to see how we're going to do the remaining work. And we will hear from Uncle Jimmy, Dr. Jimmy Adegoke, who will share with us what the vision will look like. Dr. Jimmy Adegoke is a professor of geoscience at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where he has lived for the past 20 years. He and his wife, Auntie Florence, have 2 adult sons and a 16-year-old daughter. He is the missions director of the ACF Midwest region and secretary of the ACF USA National Missions Council. So excited to hear from you, Uncle Jimmy. I'll pass it on over to you.
Thank you. I have to share my own screen here, so give me 1 minute to do that. Good. So I'm delighted. I'm sure everyone is hearing me. Thumbs up, Janello. Good. So this presentation will focus on what we call Vision 2030. We gave an overview of this in Houston 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago when we last met, when we had just finished Vision 2030 then. And since then to now, we've been working on the implementation plan for this. In fact, as we speak, we are conducting a baseline survey so that we can understand and have a clear view of where we are starting from in terms of our work and our impact. And then we can benchmark the progress that we make over the next 10 years. So this is a roadmap for scaling up our impact on the continent over the next 10 years. And this 2021 is our first year actually of driving this vision, Vision 2030. I want to credit our national board chair for sort of being the engine behind the scene in terms of driving this, in terms of nudging us to come up with this pathway. ACF today, we have, as we all know, we have close to 40 chapters, 30 something chapters, maybe 35, 36 across the country. Membership probably in the somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 members as an organization. So we're not a small organization. We're a national organization, and over the last 40 years, the Lord has really helped us. So we understand that we have the networks, we have the capacity to do a lot more than we are currently doing. We have just shown you through the presentation that our brother gave what we're doing across the continent, which we're really, really thankful to God for. But the focus of Vision 2030 is to scale this up and to achieve a transformative impact on the continent. Genesis 22:17 to 18 is really the scripture that anchors this vision, and it connects with the covenant that the Lord made with Abraham. And because we're seeds of that, of Abraham as well, through Christ, that same covenant exists between us and the Lord, and He's depending on us, to really be his vehicle for implementing stuff right now in this age and time that we're in. So Vision 2030 has 4 focus areas. One is evangelistic outreach and cross-cultural missions, because our focus is mostly on trying to reach parts of Africa where the gospel haven't been reached before. Medical outreach and the vehicles by which we do that include medical outreach, education, and then economic empowerment. So exactly the things that we're already doing, those are just the same vehicles we want to use. We just want to be more efficient. We want to expand our footprint. We want to scale up our impact. So in terms of the first focus area, which is evangelistic outreach, as we speak, there are about 1,000 unreached people groups in Africa. That is distinct ethno-linguistic groupings of people who they share the same language, the same culture, but they haven't heard, the gospel hasn't reached them yet, as we speak, on the continent. So our goal is to collaborate. We know that we can't do this alone, and the Lord hasn't called us to do this alone. But if we are intentional about building strategic collaboration, we can be an important part of closing this gap and finishing this work over the next 10 years. And how do we want to do this? One of the things that we think we can do, and one of the key areas of investment in terms of focus area 1, is for us as ACF to invest in training, deploying, and supporting 1,000 new missionaries by 2030. Okay, so how do you do this? This looks like a really massive investment, because if we're looking at, the current survey we're doing will tell us how many people we're currently supporting, missionaries, but it's in a few dozen numbers, so we probably certainly less than 30 missionaries are currently being supported across all of our chapters. How are we going to get this done? By God's grace, the implementation strategy here is to involve every single ACF family. So if you are listening to me you're a family, you're an individual in ACF, we think that you can be a part of the implementation strategy here. It doesn't cost a lot. Actually, it costs only $100 to support a missionary. $100. Every single ACF, we have more than 1,000 ACF families. We have more than 1,000. If each ACF family supports a missionary or a missionary couple will be $200. All of us, by giving up something very little, all of each of our families can be a vehicle, can be used of the Lord to accomplish this goal. So that's a challenge, and that we're really placing before ourselves and trusting the Lord that over the next 10 years we will grow our capacity to be a support network, provide that support network for missionaries, new missionaries that will be deployed across Africa. So medical outreach, we're already doing that. We're doing, we have 3 hospitals that we're already built now, and we're trusting the Lord. We're setting a new goal before ourselves that each of our regions in the next 10 years, we will build at least 1 more medical facility somewhere in Africa. Okay. At the moment, our investment in terms of hospitals in Africa is close to $1 million. It's close to $1 million. And we just are looking forward to be able to do to replicate that again and do more over the next 10 years. Same thing with education. We're challenging ourselves that each of our regions, we will invest in providing educational facilities, build a primary school, a secondary school, again, within this time frame, somewhere in the areas where we're working in. We all know the importance of education. We benefited from the investment that missionaries made, our parents. So you can draw a straight line between our success today and the investment that those missionaries made 100 years ago, or some, in coming to Africa and providing those resources for us. We can do even more, and we're trusting the Lord that we'll be able to do that. Okay, we have an aspiration that by 2030, God willing, we will be establishing a university as well, somewhere in Africa. About 30% of our our ACF membership are in higher education. And virtually all of us, probably about 80% or more have advanced degrees. So we can be useful and helpful by leveraging our expertise to drive the establishment of a university somewhere in Africa that will be a training ground as well for the next generation. And then vision, the 4th area is this economic empowerment space. We want to be able to improve livelihoods for the communities where we work. We're already doing some of that now, and by God's grace, we would like to be able to scale that up by 2030. And there are two angles to this. The first thing is that as the National Missions Council, we want to work with other entities within ACF to promote entrepreneurship amongst ourselves here in the US. Okay, a lot of us still depend on paycheck, where, you know, most of our memberships, I mean, we're doing well, but we're tied to employment, you know, and we think that it will be helpful to move some of us, you know, create that vision where some of us become business owners. And as we become business owners here, you know, we will also then be able to translate that into microeconomic and small scale enterprises in the communities that we're working in Africa. So you're going to see some of that and programs that we're going to roll out over the next couple of years in this area of building generational wealth here in the US, and then doing stuff in Africa as well. And finally, the key message, the last key message here is that this vision is bigger than us. We're not looking at just ACF. Okay, we speaking to what Linus said earlier on, we're trusting that we're going to scale up our own commitments. You know, we're already putting some of our own personal resources into missions, and we thank God and we thank you for that. And the Lord will enable us to do even more. But this vision is also about partnership, you know, depending upon you through your networks to bring in others who can, within the kingdom of God, who can partner with us, you know, through your church networks, through your professional networks, through your connections with other Christian agencies. How do we do that and leverage on those networks to accomplish this vision? So that's part of our implementation strategy. We're seeing some great things in that area already. I mean, the South region, for instance, where there's one family, a white family, who that hospital that we saw in Syria alone, they've committed over $200,000. Just one family, you know, who just bought into that vision and connected with the South region, and helped to bring that to pass. There are a lot more people like that. We just need to find them. The Lord needs to direct us to them, bring them in, you know, and leverage our networks to be able to get this vision implemented. So let me stop here, and then we can we'll address questions and answers later on in the program.
Thank you so much, Uncle Jimmy. I'll wait for us to transition out of the presentation momentarily. Fantastic. So I see quite a few questions and answers coming in for our presenters, and I'm really, really excited about all of the questions that are coming in. We will have a segment for Q&A, and that is going to be towards the end. At this moment, we are actually going to transition to a bit of a panel discussion. Now, this leadership series is going to be a little bit different than some of the leadership presentations that you all have attended. We had our first segment where we had our speakers present, but in order to understand what the vision of 2030 looks like and how we can grow our capacity to truly become a support network, I think it's important for us to understand, what does the work look like when you are on the ground? How can we truly use our gifts and talents to become missionaries? And so I'm really, really excited to have some members of our brethren who have used their gifts and talents in the mission field. And we're going to hear from them. We're going to hear, what was life like on missions field? How did the Lord impact you? How did your experience impact you there? We have a series of questions, and even as the panelists are sharing their experiences, again, feel free to ask questions in the chat by posting it. I know that there are quite a few members of ACF who have attended missions, and we are really, really excited about that. But we do want to refrain from answering questions and allow our panelists to answer the questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists. We have a representative from each region. Our first panelist from the Midwest region, Dr. Bemi Obi. Can you just wave your hand, please? Hello, welcome, welcome. And thank you for being here. And then from the West region, Dr. Chioma Ikonte. Can you please wave your hands? Good morning. And then from the East region, Dr. Eberechi Wogu Oyenkpa. Can you please raise your hand? Thank you for being here. And then from the South region, Dr. Chioma Obi. Good morning. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So our panelists, I will be asking the questions, whether they're coming in the chat or there are some questions that we also have as well. Please unmute yourself, and as we know, keep our answers 1 to 2 minutes as well. Super excited for this segment. So let's actually just start with the basics. How did God lead you to attend a missions trip with ACF? And anyone can answer.
I can start. Well, thank you all so much for having us this afternoon. It's a pleasure to be on this panel with all these accomplished women. I will say God led me to my first ACF missions trip in 2007. At that time, I was 21, so I'm giving away my age a little bit here. And the way God led me to engage on my first mission trips was it was after many years of sitting through presentations by the ACF missions director. And I know yearly they will come to our chapters and they'll give these wonderful PowerPoint presentations. And I remember specifically it was Uncle Richard and Uncle Festus were the missions directors that came to the Bronx chapter. And also, so the work that they did was definitely convicted, and it definitely made a strong impact on me and made me realize that this was something that I wanted to engage in. And then the other point that I wanted to make as well is the importance of modeling for our younger adults and children. And when I say modeling, I mean in the sense that our young ones are watching us and how engaged we are in missions and how interested we are in missions. And I say this because my father actually went on his first missions trip with ACF before I embarked on my first mission trip shortly after. So our children surely are watching us. So the more interested we are in missions, the more interested they'll also be, and also be encouraged to engage in missions work.
Thank you for that, Dr. Eberechi. I love that. I'm sure someone was wondering at the presentation, well, why do we constantly show some of the work that we're doing or showing the progress? That example is essentially the reason. Someone prayerfully will be convicted by the work that we're doing and will recognize that there's so much more work to do. Would anyone else like to share how God led them to attend a missions trip? Dr. Chioma, it looks like you're muted. I saw your mouth moving. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Sorry, I didn't realize my phone was muted.
No worries.
Yeah, so before ACF, actually back in Nigeria as part of the Christian Corpers Association, I was involved in missions there. But coming to the US, I hadn't gone on any mission trip with the ACF. And the year I decided to go was maybe about 5 years ago. And we always think we're so busy that we can just make out that 10 days to go. And I was also in that boat where it was one thing after another pursuing a career. But at that point, I said, you know what, I can't be too busy that I cannot give up a week and a half. Because if I'm going to take a vacation, I take time off and go on vacation. And I have taken time off from work to go on vacation. So if I can take it, a week, 2 weeks off on vacation, I can give up to a week and a half, 2 weeks to go on a mission trip with the ACF. So I went with the group and we went to Congo, and it was such a blessing being there and just to see the impact on the lives of the people that received care and heard the word of God from us was something that there's nothing that could compare to the joy that that brought. So I was thinking about it this morning. Before the shutdown, I would go to the gym and would ride on the elliptical. And that feeling you get after the first 3 minutes of hard work on the elliptical, and then you're just feeling high and you don't want to stop. That's the feeling you get, and that was the feeling I got going on that mission trip. I didn't want to leave. By the end of the day, and the team is saying, Bro Linus is saying, we need to start packing up. I'm like, no, I wish we can stay longer. There's so much to be done. It was just like, you just couldn't stop. And it was such a reward and such a blessing to be part of the team and to give back and to see that joy on the faces of the people that received care. And it's something that I want to continue to do and be able to give back, not just in service to the Lord, but also just seeing the joy that is received on the faces of those that receive the care.
Thank you so much. I love the tidbit about making time to do the work of God, because there's obviously so much to do. Would anyone else like to share their accounts?
Most of my answers kind of echo theirs. So in the interest of time, I can answer something else, but definitely one of my huge inspirations was having Uncle Elijah come to our chapter and speak profusely about the missions work. So that really was the biggest influence on having me decide, yeah, this is something I'm going to do.
Awesome, thank you. I wanted to tie the next question back to something that Uncle Linus said, or perhaps it was Uncle Patty, about how missions gives you a platform to showcase your gifts and talents. And evidently, I believe all of us here, well, all of you, I'm an engineer not in the medical field, have some sort of association with the medical field. Aside from what your profession is, what are some other gifts or talents that you believe God showcased in a way that you didn't expect him to on the missions field?
Without hogging the floor, I think I'll just go again real quick. So I am very big on just getting things organized. And I come into a situation, I always look for how can we make this better? It's not enough for me to say this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're going to do it. I always look for ways to improve and ways to drive efficiency. So going to the mission trip, one of the things that and also it's not just being in the medical field, there are lots that need to be done. When I went, the first job I had was even just enrolling the people and getting them organized. And it was one that I believe God really used me in that space. The church, when we went, had a list of names of people that they wanted us to see first. And I walked in there and I said, no, just put that list away. We're just going to see the people that have the greatest need. Because what I found out from that list was they had a list of their family members. And so we were going to spend the first few hours seeing all their family members and neglecting those that really needed the help. And we put that aside and we created a system that allowed us to reach the people that really needed to be reached without favoritism to anyone, and brought order to the system. We set up a system also where we pre-packed many of the medications that we were going to be giving away, labeled them ahead of time. So that made the pharmacy go a lot faster from what we had done previously. So just being able to bring efficiency to that process that allowed us to see more people than we would have seen, I think was one area, just thinking outside the box, that I was able to bring value to the group.
And I could jump right in as well. I went on the mission trip, I said in 2007, and then I went again in 2019, so 2 years ago about. And I will say I'll reflect more on my trip in 2019 to answer this question. You know, when we go on mission trip, when we on our mission trips, not only do we work with partners on the ground. So we have our ACF partners on the ground, and those are the people who are doing a lot of the legwork before we actually get there. So the example that I will give pertains to the people in Uganda. So we have our ACF Uganda group, who are a group of young people who are so passionate about missions and the work that they do. And coming on a trip in 2019, I would say a characteristic that I know that is pertinent to me that I was able to utilize during that trip was, you know, forming connections with people that you're working with on a daily basis and being able to encourage these young people who are on ground doing all this heavy lifting. That was definitely a way that I saw that God used me just to encourage those who are on ground, saying, we see what you're doing. We acknowledge the work that you're doing. We know that the work is heavy and we appreciate all that you're putting in to keep this going when we go back to the United States. So keep the work going, and also fostering those relationships when we come back here to the US and keeping in touch with those people, making sure that they're doing okay. I think that was a way that God used me aside from my medical background while working on the missions field in 2019.
Definitely for me, I'm a clinical pharmacist by trade, so most of my time was definitely spent in the pharmacy, and just in the nature of my work, it also has a lot of administrative aspects of that too. So also, just to echo, the streamlining of certain processes was definitely a thing that really helped our days go much more efficiently, and pre-packing medications and just prioritizing patients, and also being able to discuss things with, well, in terms of my clinical work, that was a big thing about talking with doctors. But outside of that, I'd echo also the relationships is a big thing. So outside of my work, I'm also a leader in my church. And so I do preaching on different occasions within my church and also at ACF occasionally. And so I was able to, I went on 2018 and 2019, December, to Sierra Leone. And so on both those occasions, I was able to speak an encouraging word during their church service to the young adults who were there. And the church there is very, very young. It's predominantly young adults who are really running the entire thing. So it was definitely an opportunity for me to continue to share those gifts. And it wasn't me just, you know, taking the mic or taking the stage, but they really, really welcomed anything that we can share, anything that we could give. They really asked for it while they were over there. You know, these are our brothers and sisters who are just as energetic over there as we are here about getting things done. So definitely encouraging them, speaking on the Sundays. And also last year they had, the Sierra Leone group also had a like an academic empowerment panel. And so I was able to zoom in on that in the middle of the day and just encourage them in terms of academic ambitions. And honestly, I thought, how different can these systems be? I don't know, but whatever God led me to say really encouraged a lot of the youth and young adults there. So definitely maintaining those connections. It's not just when we're over there, things continue when we come back to the States as well.
Well, I guess I'll go. I think for me, it probably was a little bit more personal. I'm a pediatrician by training, but as you know, here in the States, we are subspecialized. You don't get to see adults. So I was a little bit concerned that taking care of both adults and children would be a problem. But it's amazing because I trained in Nigeria, how everything I learned in medical school came back to me. And I actually learned all these diseases. And inadvertently, the staff that was sending patients to me started sending only the children to me, because the children were usually 3, 4, and 5 from one family. And just that personal touch, talking with them, for me was actually important, because I began to see that our partners on ground who used to just see the baby, you know, the babies or the children in 1 minute, started to see the same take more time and talk with the families rather than just put them through a stop, shop, and go type procedure. And then things that they didn't normally do, like check the ears, check the mouths, actually touch the patients, which they hadn't started doing. I guess by virtue of the fact that I was there, they started to do it. Initially, I thought maybe it was just a fluke. Maybe I'm just thinking too much of myself. But then as the outreach continued and going to different towns, I did see a change. And actually families began to comment that we spoke more with them. And I thank God for that, because obviously not treating alone is not, it's just one of the many ailments that we're dealing with. It's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. And so this full holistic approach where we see them physically, then we send them to the prayer and counseling tent was really essential on our trip to Malawi. And I went in 2019, and I pray that we continue doing that.
Thank you so much. I love the reminders that, obviously there is a lot of medical missions work to do, but it's not just about helping and treating the physical aspect. It's about that holistic aspect. And I love hearing the accounts of how we are able to use other skills that God has given us, whether it's being able to provide that personal touch with building relationships and just having simple conversations, or being able to use your organizational skills. Our God is a God of order. So how can we help if it's not done in an organized fashion, right? And so I really, really love hearing that. And I hope that encourages someone today who is thinking, oh, well, I can't go to missions because maybe I'm not a medical professional. There's still work for you to do. There's still a gift that you have. There's still a talent that you have that can for sure be used in the missions field. Thank you so much for that. On that same topic, what were some things that each of you did to prepare for your missions trip? Obviously, there are a lot of experiences that you will encounter. What did you do to prepare spiritually, physically, emotionally even? There are a lot of things that you will encounter, some things that, perhaps will make you sad, right? And so how do you prepare for that emotionally? How do you prepare for that physically? How do you prepare for that spiritually? Anyone can start.
Sorry, I would say when I went on my first trip in 2007, I definitely was not prepared. And reality hit me in the face pretty quickly when I got to Kampala. And this is not before I got to the village, just Kampala alone. I was like, whoa, what is this? So going into 2019, I was a bit prepared because I knew what I was walking into, and I knew what to anticipate. But I think definitely it is crucial for us to prepare ourselves spiritually when we are going on a mission trip. I think there's often the idea that missions, we tend to focus on often the medical outreach aspect of it, but really the main focus of missions is the discipleship and the evangelism aspect of it. And truly, if you think about it, you're going to evangelize to people who you don't know what their spiritual state is. So you definitely have to be prepared yourself to face whatever you encounter when you're on the ground. So not only do you have to get yourself ready to be able to minister and to pour out to people that you meet on the missions field, you also have to prepare yourself for the devil does not like when we go out there in the fields to Uganda, to Benin Republic, to Malawi. So he's going to throw all sorts of things at us when we're out there on the missions field. So you have to truly be prayerful, right? You have to be prayerful and be vigilant. I would say also just make sure that you're focused on what the mission is. So definitely praying and getting yourself spiritually together before you go on the mission trip is important. And I think that we do a good job of doing that as a collective group, but also as an individual, you have to do that for yourself. And then also getting yourself together emotionally, because like you said, Chinelo, you're going to see a lot of things that will make you sad, that might bring down your spirit. And you have to be ready to know how to process all of what you're seeing and feeling. And I think also speaking to those who are on the mission trip to say, this is how I'm feeling. Are you feeling the same? And having others help you through that if you're having a hard time on the mission trip is important. But I think the most important thing is definitely praying and preparing yourself spiritually before you get on the ground, because it is not easy once you get there. That's for sure.
I agree. I'll echo everything she said spiritually, but one other caveat to that was I feel that we had a spectacular group going in 2019. Brother Jimmy was a really good leader because he streamlined that process so much for us from the time we got our tickets to getting there, our visas, everything else. So I really didn't feel that I had to do much more than just go. And because of my background, I sort of remembered how things were growing up. And so it wasn't too much of a shock when I got there. Actually, things looked a lot more modern than I thought it would be. I was expecting to lay on the ground and sleep on a mat. I wasn't expecting a twin bed and mosquito nets. And those were all things that were done because of the mission house that we were in. And so just realize find out what you're going to go there with, what's going to have. Granted, mosquito repellent was very important. Anti-malarials were very important. Getting your vaccinations were very important. And those were things that we had discussed before going on. Sometimes people go on trips and say, oh, we're going to go serve the Lord, but forget that we're still in our physical bodies. And if you don't take the right measures, you're going to get tired and probably sometimes fall sick when you're there. Several of us actually did get sick the first couple of days. And thank God I had a lot of vitamin C to pass around. Didn't know that it was going to come useful. I just brought anything I thought would help people, and coffee, whatever. I brought all that with me. And I mean, it really did help. And so I think just having a good group talking things over is also important, in addition to having the spiritual hub, really, investigating where you're going, especially talking to those who have been before is important.
Yeah, I think I echo the same thing that the two speakers have said. In addition to preparing spiritually, I mean, our group, Linus and Sister Maureen, did an excellent job, similar to what Brother Jimmy must have done with the group in the South. They laid it out every day, what we can expect. They went also even to the details on, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we went with cans of sardines and, fruits that we would eat during lunch, because you eat whatever you can in the morning and just whatever you're able to feast on throughout the day. So I had apples that I took with me. I had carrots that I bought from Costco and took with me, and I munched on my apples and carrots during the day. And then we had dinner at night. We had one good meal at night. But another thing too was the group that we went with was very close-knit. So in addition to our individual prayers, we all came together every morning and had devotion together every morning. And those were very powerful before we all went out into the day. So it was another way of just connecting and getting everyone well-grounded before going out into the day.
And if I could just add one more thing, I will say, going to the mission trip might seem daunting, but it is truly the most, I will say, life-transforming experience that you could ever experience. You just have, if you do it once, you can't, if you do it, you just can't do it more than once. You just want to keep going back. So regardless of what we're saying, we're sharing our experiences, but truly it is life-transforming. I will say you just have to try it for yourself and truly see.
Very true.
The other thing is we had a group that was praying for us the whole full day, 10 days that we were there. To be honest, a lot of the things we faced on the road that God brought miraculous solutions to, it was the prayer of our people back home in the States. It was amazing. I mean, when they say God answers prayers miraculously, he did on that trip. There are times we got to roadblocks. I remember one specifically at night. We were stopped by police at a checkpoint, and they saw our shirts, saw Jesus on it, and they still wanted to delay us. And we started praying. People were praying for us, and somebody just saw us in there and said, you're a church group? You're a church group, let them go. And he was actually fighting with his superior to let us go. That's God fighting for us. So for me, that was very important. Prayer from home.
Thank you. It's almost like you knew what question I was going to ask next, because this is a perfect segue into it. But I wanted to ask, what did God teach you about himself as a result of your time on the mission field. Even someone put in the chat that missionary work is addictive and exciting. To Eberichi's point, you can't just go once. So what about your time there makes it so addictive? What about it makes it so exciting? What did God, or what does God continually teach you over and over again that, you know, pushes you out onto the mission field over and over again?
Something that God constantly taught me every time I was there, every single day, was just how big he is. I think when we're in the States, we get so comfortable in our routines. And so, you know, our prayers are, God, lead me through this day. And you almost already know what to expect. But on missions, you don't always know what to expect. And so 100% so thankful for the prayers of the South region, who they met every morning to pray. The team together, we prayed and ate breakfast every morning. Every evening we prayed again, and just talked about our day, what went well, what didn't go so well, what could we expect tomorrow or whatever. And just the stories from everyone sharing. Oh my gosh, it was just, you were just overwhelmed with, wow, God can do something like this. Like, wow, God can change someone like this. And the missionaries who lived there, you know, it was so incredible to hear the stories of the experiences that they had, and just the miracles that would be happening right in front of their eyes, and what we would be seeing too. And when you really allow God to be unleashed in an environment, it is just something that's so inspiring. And that's really my most addictive aspect of the missions, is just seeing how God just overwhelms any expectation that you had going into that. And one of the biggest things I think is also seeing the journeys that we took to go to those more unreached places were incredible. You know, a road that would have taken probably 20 minutes to drive if it were paved took 3 hours because it wasn't, you know. And just seeing the depths and the heart of people and all the things that people will go through, the obstacles to bring the word of God, to bring the saving message of God's love to people. Just to see how they do this every day, they do this every week. And so we're going there one day, but seeing how God can still move when we're there for just 8 hours of that time, I'm just overwhelmed. And so every year I'm just reminding myself, do not put God in a box, because he is just going to overwhelm you with what he can really do.
Yeah, that's very true. I want to piggyback on what Chioma just said. Not putting God in a box. One of the presenters shared a slide on a borehole that the ACF West region put forth in Congo. That didn't happen. That wasn't the plan when we went on that mission trip. Again, not putting God in a box. When we went, the first few days seemed like a disappointment because the team on the ground wasn't quite ready. So we couldn't go out to start the mission work because there were some permits that we needed to have that were not yet in place. So we were, okay, so God, what do you want us to do? And that was when somebody said, oh, there's an orphanage. Actually, the first suggestion was, we can take you all to the beach and you can spend the day at the beach. And we said, no, we didn't come here to go to the beach. We're from Southern California. We have very good beaches. We didn't come here to go to the beach. What else do you have? And then somebody said, oh, there is an orphanage, but it's very far away. It's deep, far away from town. Do you want to go? And we said, oh, yeah, let's go. And so they got a bus, and this bus could barely carry us. I mean, we get to potholes, and we have to get off the bus for the bus to go through, and then we go back in because the weight couldn't allow the bus to go through. And so we arrived at this orphanage, and it was an answer to the prayer to the woman that was leading this orphanage. She said she had been praying and said, God, because she had over 20 children, and people would just bring babies. She'll wake up in the morning and see babies left, newborn babies left in front of her door. And she'll have to take these babies and take care of them. And it was getting too much for her. And she said she had prayed and said, Lord, if you don't send me help. And she had given God time. If he doesn't send help, that she was going to shut down and unfortunately send these children away. And then we showed up. And it was an answer to prayer. And that was how we now partnered with her, and we brought about the borehole that eventually was set up. And the orphanage is doing extremely very well. The water is providing not just water to them, but economic opportunities. Again, learning that for me was just go with an open heart. You cannot put God in a box, and God is going to move and show himself mighty if we just allow him to move. And that was what we saw from that trip.
Thank you. I also want to hear about what did life look like when you came back from your missions trip, right? We talked a little bit about how to prepare before you go, what life looks like when you're there. But let's say the first day that you woke up in your own bed from your missions trip, or even the week after that, what were some things going through your mind when you came back from your missions trip?
I have a whole lot to say about that. Because it was I've been on medical outreach, but not faith-based. This was my first faith-based one. And I'm telling you, it's a different spiritual experience. I came back on cloud 9. I was physically tired, but my head was in the clouds. I thought I was singing in heaven with Jesus. I don't know what to tell you guys. I was just there. And I remember that shortly after we had an ACF event afterward, and people were asking me, how was your outreach? How was your outreach? I can see your aura. Your aura looks like I want some of this anointing to be on me. I don't know what they saw, but I can tell you that for me, that was the mainstay. The other thing that it told me was that I really don't need what I have. In the States, we buy a lot of stuff. We go on sales. We do all this stuff. And I'm like, these guys over here, just bare minimum shelter, warmth, and whatever. What am I doing with my money? What am I, really, I can spare a little bit of cash to support a missionary. Also realizing that we're safe where we are. We're in a, high level country, it's relatively safe. You can go out at night. A lot of these missionaries, the ones we work with in Malawi were from Muslim areas. They had been targeted by their families. The missionary couple that we stayed with had no family because they came from up, and they would actually come after them and burn their houses down. And so that was another thing that said, I can help in one way or the other, whether financially or by prayers, to help these people who are actually doing the work and being in the field, and as they are discipling others, also help in this. So those were the things that when I came back, those were my realizations.
Yeah. I will also agree with what Dr. Bami said. When I came back from my first trip to Uganda, the one thing that I missed once I came back was just the praise and worship. When you see these people praise and worship, and just the presence of God and how he just kind of worked. There were no instruments really. It was just singing and just clapping. I truly missed that when I came back. And that was actually what I longed to go back to, just to worship and praise with the brethren in Uganda. But I think after coming back from that initial trip, you can't go through life the way you did before. You have a greater appreciation for what you have and what God has given you, the privilege that we have and where we are here in the States. And the little things that we take for granted definitely is magnified when you come back from a mission trip. So I will say, if anything, it encourages and challenges you just to figure out how you could engage more in missions activities. Because like I said, your life truly is transformed when you come back from a missions trip. And I think it's up to you to accept that challenge or not to accept that challenge, but truly it's life transforming.
Yeah, I echo the same thing. It's very life transforming. I remember one of the days that we gathered together to pray in the morning while we were at Congo, and we were singing the worship song, "You are Alpha and Omega." And I've shared this with a few people. I think I shared this with Sister Maureen. And you could almost, because I asked her, did you see the Lord physically? Because you could almost, I did not see him physically, but you could almost feel the Lord was physically there. Mm-hmm. And that image has not left my mind. I saw his face smiling that morning, and it can't get off my mind. And it's such a feeling of, it's like he's saying thank you. And to feel like the Lord is smiling upon you and saying thank you, it's such a feeling that is so humbling and so rewarding. And I've kept in touch with some of the people that we met while we were there, and just even looking at how else can we bring value to the work that we're doing, that the Lord is having us do in this region. It's totally life-changing, and it's continuing to think about how else can I bring value.
Yeah, definitely. I can say that my wheels just started turning and kept turning ever since I left. And you really just share that testimony with people that you meet too, and they also get excited about it and wonder, how can I help? How can I be involved? Or I would love to do something like that. I lead a life group of multi-ethnic women, or a small group or Bible study of multi-ethnic women. And one of them, she's this dietitian, this Caucasian dietitian, very young, in her early 20s, that just started practicing. And she was someone who always thought, you know, I can't do missions. I don't know anything about it. I'm really comfortable here in Southeast Louisiana. Like, let me just see my patients. But, you know, I came back with stories about her, about, you know, the malnutrition that we saw there, and just how, you know, she deals with a lot of young women here who deal with eating disorders and different things like that. And over there, we're dealing with cultural issues that might impact what a child is fed by their mother because of her own, you know, beliefs about one thing or another. And so it's just interesting to have that conversation of, like, actually, just like you counsel your patients and give them recommendations here in the States, like, there are places that still need that too, everywhere that we go. And so that was also something to me that was just like, tell your testimony. How that person receives it, that's up to God, but just share the testimony. And so there have been so many people that I've shared this testimony with who are inspired about going the next time. The first year I went, I told everyone. The second year I went, the first year I went with one of my sisters. The second year I went with another sister and another one of our close friends, also in the Baton Rouge chapter. So, you know, the more young people that you tell, the more people that you tell, they get excited and want to be more involved in it. So that's definitely something that I learned coming back, was just the wheels are turning, and just tell people and get them excited too.
That's really good. As we wrap up this Q&A panel, this portion of the Q&A, we'll have another Q&A where we'll take questions that members of the audience have asked. I'm going to ask one final question, and I'll give you a little bit of time to marinate on it. If you had to give a one-line sentence of advice for someone who has been interested, who feels convicted, and they just need that extra push to get them over the line, what would you say to them?
Just do it. Do it. That's what it took for me. I had to just commit and say, I'm going. And then I worked around it. You know, obviously I prayed, but I worked around it to fit my schedule. It's amazing how God opened doors, schedules I thought, call dates I thought I had to do. You know, I take overnight call in the hospital. So I'm an intensivist, so I'm not released a lot. Which, you know, I was not giving any work for the month of July, August. That's God. That's never happened to me before. So I think just making that commitment within you, God opens doors to make it happen.
Yeah, I'll add to that.
Yeah.
God's grace is sufficient. And that's the big thing. Do it. His grace is sufficient. I started a new job in the same first year that I was going to go on that trip, and I didn't know if I'd have the vacation days. I did have to make sacrifices of taking trips here and there to ensure that I'd have enough time off. I told my boss about, you know, where I was going and what I was going to do. And I think that also softened his heart into making sure that my coworkers and colleagues would also be in alignment with covering whatever obligations happened. God's grace is going to be sufficient no matter what obstacle you try to put in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everyone. Just go, just do it. Don't let fear keep you back. I remember my first one, I also did not have enough vacation days to go. And I prayed about it. I went to my boss and told him where I was going and why I was going. He said, you know, I would support what you're going to do by allowing your travel time to be work days. So he didn't charge me vacation days for the travel time. So my 2 days going and 2 days coming back, well, he considered them work days. That's God. And so there were no, because I didn't have vacation days to cover that. So what I did was to download my work onto my laptop, and then I walked on the plane. So when I landed and had internet, I forwarded everything to him. So those were work days, and that was just God that made that possible for me, and I had support. But even at that, though, the same boss that gave me the time and said, okay, I'm going to support you by giving you these 2 days, a few days came back with a printout and saying, you really want to go? This is what is going on in Congo. There's a lot of war, there's this. Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes, I'm going to go. I'll be fine. The Lord will take care of me. And so I went, and I'm so grateful to God that I did.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I will say that if you're contemplating engaging in the mission trip, and I think not just going on a mission trip, but just engaging in missions activities, I will say that there is one life out there, even multiple lives, that just your engagement in missions can definitely impact the lives of one person and the lives of many people. So if it's for the sake of just one life that can be led to Christ, it is worth whatever sacrifice you have to make. It's worth whatever days you have to sacrifice just to engage in the work that God is calling you to. So I agree, just do it, do it.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was really awesome. Let's give them a round of applause without unmuting yourself. That was really, really awesome. We are going to transition to a Q&A. So we will welcome back our speakers from earlier, Dr. David Patty, Dr. Jimmy Adegoke, and Dr. Linus Ojuku. We have quite a few questions. So some of the questions may be geared towards our panelists. Some of them may be geared towards our speakers. You can give me just 1 second. Let me go look at that list of questions. All right. So for my first question, and this might be geared towards our speakers, but I presume we may have some panelists who may have an answer as well. What is our global definition of a missionary?
Linus, do you want to jump in there?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah. So a missionary is, you can think about a missionary as somebody who crosses a cultural barrier to go and do kingdom work. Okay, and you can be a short-term missionary. So in fact, all of us who have gone out on missions trip with ACF or with any other organization, we are short-term missionaries. So the definition is really, it has to, so if you go and do evangelism in your neighborhood somewhere, that's great kingdom work, but that's not missionary work. Okay, so it has to, you have to cross a cultural barrier for that definition of missionary to be applicable to the work that you're doing. So that's just a simple definition of that. Of course, there are full-time people, lots of people who do that full-time as well.
I will echo into Brother Jimmy's comments. Yes, that's all true. And for example, I used to be a missionary in Iraq. So that's a big culture. I have in Tajikistan a missionary work over there. Then now here in Africa, if I'm unable to join my ACF mission team going to Uganda, and the time is not too great, I took vacation 10 days and go to Uganda on my own and do missionary work. So crossing those again, echoing Brother Jimmy, crossing, going for a short term, doing the kingdom work. And that's what a missionary should do. Go and share the blessings the Lord has given to you to others in a remote land where the need are. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Uncle Linus, do you have your phone and your computer on? Because perhaps you may want to mute one of them.
Now we can't hear him.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on to the next question. I believe this question is actually for you, Uncle Jimmy. How will we recruit new missionaries? We talked a bit about the Vision 2030 and how there is a need for us to expand our missionaries on ground. So again, how will we recruit new missionaries? Is the fundraising ask of $100 per family? Is it per month? And what will that sponsorship cover?
Excellent. So I want to tie that to another question here that Brother Raobi Stanford Obi has just asked now. So the key to so we don't train missionaries ourselves, right? We, although we actually, we don't identify ourselves, ACF, as a missions organization, or as a missions agency, but we actually function as a missions agency in terms of our impact and the work that we do. There are mission agencies registered officially, like here in the US, who do missions work, who don't even do half of what we do in terms of the impact that we're having on the continent. Okay, so we actually qualify as a missions agency, but we don't train. We don't have a training school. We don't have, but we do have partnerships. We have partnerships. We had the SIM, Sudan Interior Mission, for instance. SIM, we had the global international director of SIM. SIM has footprint all over Africa. And we're in the process of having conversations with them to develop a memorandum of understanding. There are other agencies like that who actually train. Now, Calvary Ministries, Capro is an example. We in the Midwest partner directly with Capro. So the point here is that we would identify people who already have missions training capacity, who are training people. Adonai also in Adonai International is another example in Central African Republic. As we speak, there are hundreds of people, individuals, young men and women, literally hundreds, that are in training, that are wanting to go into training, that are looking for sponsorship. So if we have individuals in our midst here who want to sponsor, we just need to organize it, and the goal here, the strategy here is that every family, if you are an ACF family, we're trusting that the Lord will speak to you, and we're going to be reminding you about this every time we have an opportunity. Your family needs to be sponsoring a missionary agency, some missionaries in Africa. My wife and I, she just came in and stepped down. We have over, I don't know, more than a decade, more than for a long time, we have been sponsoring missionaries. We have multiple missionaries that we sponsor in different countries, not just in Africa alone. There's a family in China, for instance, who that we sponsor, so every family here needs to be sponsoring at least a missionary couple or a missionary. And it's only $100 per month per missionary. Okay, most of us can afford that. Like one of our sisters in the panel said, you know, by making just a little adjustment in our budgets or perhaps in what we do, we can add that to what we already have on our plate. Okay, so that's the answer to that.
Thank you so much for that. That was very detailed and very clear, so thank you so much. Our next question also came from the audience. How does ACF collaborate with churches that have a similar vision? And I think that it'd be interesting to hear not only from our speakers, but also from our panelists. I believe there was a panelist who indicated that they also work with their church mission. So if there's any, you know, insight that you can give on how you've been able to collaborate between the two, that'd be great to hear as well.
I think every ACF member is a seed planted in a particular location of church. To the extent you are willing to be bold in sharing what you do, like Chioma Obi said, that is to the extent you galvanize the energy and interest in your church. We are missionaries wherever we are. You have to speak up. You have to let your church know who you are and what you do. And when you do that, some churches are actually looking to do something outside of United States, but they don't know how. You become a resource to them, and you'll be amazed what will happen and how people will reach out to you. Even if the whole church is not going as a unit, you can convince individuals to join you and support you. Again, it's not just in the church, it's in your workplace. It will surprise you what you can do, like Dr. Chioma was saying, when she shared in her workplace, that started giving her pallets of vitamins that she donated across ACF USA. So it is possible, but we are the agents that will do that. So share in your church, and you'll be surprised that your pastor, and sometimes they have mission directors, they will come to you and ask you, how do we partner with you? How can we do this? And like I said, there's a lot of interest, but people don't know how to get started.
And I can add to that in East region, my mission director, the Church of Nazarene really went to Uganda at some point. That's the church with ACF. And also the one who asked the question, I know Pastor Akon, I've been working with ACF East region. We want to extend our area to Sudan. So I've been dialoguing with a pastor who is also having a church over there in Sudan, and ACF want to partner with this church. So there's possibility, and I agree with all the speakers. Thank you.
Fantastic. I have another question here that says, can you comment about ACF's relationship with Heritage Africa or other organizations in investing in economic empowerment on the continent?
Can I ask the executive director to address that question, please, Rassam? I hope he's on. I know he's on, but can somebody draw his attention to that?
You've been unmuted, Uncle. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Uncle Sam.
Yes, I had to get permission to be unmuted, so I'm here now. All right, so the question is, how do we partner with organizations such as Heritage Africa in economic empowerment and other things that we do? As most of you know, and well, some of you know, hopefully all, that Heritage Africa is a sister organization to ACF, founded by ACF for the purpose of doing non-religious type work and partnerships in Africa for the benefit of Africa. And certainly as we look to work in areas that are in the capacities that Heritage Africa or organizations such as CAPRO have some footprint, we are looking to not duplicate efforts. We're looking to create synergy between partner organizations. And one of the areas that we have in the last couple of years worked very closely with Heritage Africa interorganizationally is something we did in 2019 called the ADIC, Africa Development and Investment Conference, that we hosted in Houston before the national conference. And the purpose of that was to begin to explore opportunities in business and economic development in the continent of Africa, as well as amongst the Africans here. And so in doing that, we brought the two organizations together and worked out the modalities for hosting that conference, which then involved other organizations that are also in that field. With regards to CAPRO, as Brother Jimmy already mentioned, we are partnered with them on the ground in Malawi, and with the Central African Republic, we are also partnering on the ground with that. So we're constantly looking for those opportunities to work with like-minded organizations. One other thing I'll mention is that in Georgia, there's a group in southwest of Georgia that all are African American missions organization, and they happen to also sponsor CAPRO Missionaries. When we went to Malawi, we found them in Malawi and we worked with them in Malawi. And then after returning from Malawi, the team from here, from the Midwest, went to Georgia to meet with them. And in meeting that group in Georgia, which is a small group, they invited the Midwest team to meet with a larger group of African American churches, thereby helping develop even greater relationships with churches in that area. So, and we're looking for more and more of those types of partnerships. But Jimmy mentioned the Memorandum of Understanding. That's really one of the first things we try to engage in is once we find such organizations, we try to develop a Memorandum of Understanding of what we want to do together, so that there's some clear direction as to how we want to accomplish this. So hopefully that gives you a little bit information on our thinking.
Thank you, Uncle Sam. I think we can actually just keep you on the spotlight just in case there's another question that might be directed to you. Alrighty, going along with some additional questions that we received from the audience. Is it possible now to have missionaries in Africa to register with ACF so anyone in ACF can support them through the organization?
Yeah, I just provided, I was just responding to that actually on the chat. As we speak right now, we have from all the regions, actually, we have a list of, for all the countries where we're working in, and some for even countries where we are not currently working in, but there are missionaries available to be sponsored. So we do have a list as we speak. So there are two things we're going to do. First of all, we can, if you are on here right now, and the Lord is speaking to you that you want, in this area, that you want to make a commitment. And typically we ask that you make a commitment of about 3 years, okay? Make an initial commitment of about 3 years. You don't want to sponsor someone for 6 months and then after 6 months you drop off, that's not, so, and we're not asking for like a gazillion years commitment. Make a 3-year commitment. After that 3 years, if you want to keep doing it, you can renew your commitment, okay? And if you're going to drop off, you can 6 months before you drop off or a year before you drop off, you inform your missionary that, okay, for certain, certain reasons, you will not be able to continue that sponsorship, but would like at least a 3-year commitment, okay? And it's only $100 per missionary. If it's a couple, it's $200 a month, We are building a new website for the National Missions Council. A section of that website will contain, it will be almost like adopt a missionary type section on that website. And there will be a profile, of the picture and the little description of where those missionaries are working, whether they are currently in training or wherever they are. And you can just scroll through, look at the country where they're working in, and if one, if you're touched in one particular area, you can adopt from that. But that's probably going to take us maybe another 3 months or so, or 4 months. Certainly before the middle of the year, we will have that website fully functional, and we will make that available to through all the chapter presidents. But the information is available now. We have information available now, and we can provide you that information if you're a chapter president or you're an individual and you just want to step up, even right now, through this program that we're having, to say that from this year, from perhaps February next year or from March this year, I want to support a missionary. We will provide you a missionary couple or a missionary individual that you can support. So reach out to me. My number is posted on the website there, and I mean on the chat box, or Brother Linus. And then we will take that into the National Missions Council and deal with that at the level of the National Missions Council. And within a couple of weeks or so, we will respond to you with the information you need. We do advise, though, that whatever support you are providing, it should go through the normal vehicle, so that your normal vehicle through your region, okay, your missions program through the region, so that first of all we can have an accounting of what we're doing. We want to know what we're doing and how much and what we're leveraging. So that's one. Two, so that you can get tax benefit, because if you send some money directly, say for instance to a missionary somewhere in Sudan or Malawi or Botswana or somewhere, you're not going to be able to get tax deduction for that. So it's important for us to take advantage of that as well, right? So make your contributions through us, through the structure, the ACF USA structure that we have on the ground. But contact me or Brother Linus, and we will provide you a list of missionaries that you can consider to sponsor. Okay, back to you, Chinelo.
Let me add that right now, let's say East region, we already have missionaries on the ground. First of all, they go, this young one that we pick up, and now they became doctors, and some are evangelists. They go out to do missionary work, and they need sponsorship. So right now in East region, we need those sponsorship, either the child sponsorship program, education, but we have people right now going, when we are here, especially during this pandemic, they are there on the ground doing evangelism on our behalf. Also, the doctors, those that we train, our clinic over there is ongoing in this time, and they also are missionaries on the ground. Instead of we traveling, they're already there. You can sponsor them. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Patty. We have time for a couple more questions. In light of COVID-19, how do we continue participating in missions?
Linus, please give us a response there.
I think this season has provided us with many unexplored opportunities to do missions. And believe it or not, this season has always has been the season that we have raised the most funds in ACF, even though we are quarantined at home. So we are still doing missions in the West. We are still feeding the hungry. We don't have to be physically present on the ground to do what God has called us to do, even though that is very key to making this, if you want to say, exponentially sound. But we have been able to send money to the people on the ground, and they are working as we speak. We have been able to send money to the people on the ground to feed their families during this pandemic. Our Feed the Children program is ongoing. So that is one thing we need to do. The second thing I hope you might be thinking about is what has come up of late. Now that we have this pandemic, how do we go? How do we move from here to the field? It has many unknowns yet. For instance, we are talking about, even if you get vaccinated, even if you wanted to go, will the host country allow you to come in? What is their COVID-19 policies? So these are some of the challenges we have. But I believe that in the next few weeks, some of these things will begin to clear up as some of our members are beginning to get vaccinated, especially those on the front line. And then we are working to see on the other side, even if you, like I said, wanted to go, would you be received? Is it wise to go in and be quarantined for 14 days? Do you have that kind of time, vacation time to spend? So there are so many moving parts, but I believe that we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And in the next few weeks, we will make some sound decisions regarding that. But the mission still goes on through sending your funds and stuff like that.
And I believe South Region also conducted a virtual missions clinic in December. So I wasn't able to participate since my hospital was surging at that time, but so I don't know the complete details of that, but I think someone may be on the call also that could, but I believe that that was really something that helped us to stay connected during the time that we would have physically been there, for them to see patients, and the clinic was able to do, I believe, the physical exams and things, and they were still able to interface with our older or retired physicians. I believe they tried to recruit to help in that effort.
And just to jump in here, our executive director is going to, when he wraps up, in his wrapping up, announce the dates for 2021. We are trusting the Lord, and we would ask that the entire ACF should continue to, will continue in prayer as we have been, you know, just for God to help us, for this COVID thing to blow away, you know, for God to take us to the other side of it, you know. But we will be watching. We have dates set already for this year for all of the outreaches that we intend to conduct, and we're trusting that we're watching the situation, and if we need to make any changes, we will not put ourselves or even the people we're going to minister to there at unnecessary risk. So Brother Sam is going to announce those dates.
All right, well, actually, that is a perfect segue into our wrap up, because we definitely want to respect your time. Panelists and speakers, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for serving God through ACF. We know that missionary work is no easy feat, but you're allowing God to use you. So that's really, really exciting to see. Obviously, Jesus himself was a missionary here, and we are continuing his work in our different ways, right? Thank you, audience members, for all of the questions that you have answered. Unfortunately, we will not be able to get through all of them, but you definitely asked some amazing questions to provide additional insight into the work that we are doing here at ACF. And thank you for allowing me to moderate this session for our admin leadership. This has been amazing. Pam, I'll pass it over.
Thank you so much, Chinelo. Wonderful job. Let's give Chinelo a round of applause. Dula, do me a favor. Could you, whoever's running the sound, can you unmute Brother Jasper? He's on the phone. It's a 703 phone number. If you could unmute Brother Jasper, please. And while we are unmuting Brother Jasper, I do want to echo Chinelo's thank you to all the panelists and the presenters for such a marvelous job you have done today in taking us through the journey of Vision 2030, as well as talking about the things that we are already doing. And by the grace of God, we'll begin to scale up even more as the Lord gives us grace. I do have a few announcements before we wrap up finally, and I'm going to ask Brother Jasper to make the final closing remarks. But just a few things I want to bring to our attention. As Brother Jimmy mentioned, there's already a schedule out for the 2021 mission trips, and I will share those right now. We'll also put this on the leadership WhatsApp group. And these are the current dates: April 15 to 24, Central African Republic. And the contact for that is Brother Linus Ojuku. And May 15 to 22nd, medical outreach and evangelism to Sierra Leone. But Elijah Aderie is the contact person for that. June 30 to July 11, medical outreach to Malawi, Brother Jimmy Adegoke. July 8th to 17th, Benin Republic, evangelism, Brother Amos DK is the contact person for that. July 14th to 25th, Mozambique, evangelism, Brother Jimmy Adegoke is the contact person. And July 15th to 28th, medical outreach and evangelism to Uganda, Brother Amos DK is the contact person. Now, as has already been stated, these are tentative dates. We're believing God that we will be able to go. If for some reason the situation does not allow, you will be informed accordingly. But the planning has to begin now in order for us to be able to go if the road is open. So please take note of those, and we'll post those in multiple locations so that you will have information to make your own plans. If in doubt, reach out to your chapter president, to your regional president, to your regional mission director, or even to your chapter mission director, and they will be able to direct you accordingly. The comment has already been made, and I will echo that whether we're here or are able to travel, missions work does not stop. And even for those who are able to go, for each person who goes, there's probably 10, 15 people who are part of sending them. And we're all collectively involved in that mission effort. So if you can't go this year, please help somebody else go. If you're able to go, as has already been testified, it's an experience that you will never regret. So that's announcement made. I do also want to mention something that's not connected to missions, but connected to ACF and our effectiveness, that the National Board recently empowered a Constitution Review Committee. And Brother Jasper will probably speak to that a little bit more. And we are asking chapter presidents and regional presidents to please be sure that our members are aware that we are in the process of reviewing our constitution and bylaws. And everybody's input is welcomed, actually desired. And they can send, well, first of all, they have to read the constitution itself and then figure out what areas that they would like to amend, and send the recommendations to the committee through an email address that's been set up as constitutionreview@acfusa.org. An email went out to to chapter presidents this week, and we'll encourage you to please share those with your members as well. With that said, and in the interest of time, I'm going to invite Brother Jasper, if he has been unmuted, to make any final comments or remarks that he has before we close out in prayer. Oh, and when we are done officially, we're going to ask our presenters to please stay on for another 15, 20 minutes for those who may have other questions they want to ask. Thank you. Brother Jasper? Did we find him? Oh, he's still muted. I'm gonna, okay. Brother Jasper, can you unmute yourself now, please?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I was muted before.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me now? All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, our panelists, the two chairmen, Sister Bwemi and Sister Eberechi. Thank you so much for the awesome work that you did. Thank you, Chinelo, for being a great hostess, and thank you for the marvelous work that you did. And of course, I want to appreciate our National Missions Council leaders, Brother Ojuku, Brother Jimmy, and Brother Paddy. Thank you for all that you have been doing and continue to do. I pray that the Lord will bless all of you in your individual lives and bless us as an organization. You know, missions is the heartbeat of God, and as the panelists and the speakers have all said, that's the vision of ACF. We truly want to transform Africa with the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, and in that process also impact the physical and social lives of the people in Africa. So that's our goal. I just want to encourage all of you to continue to be engaged with missions in your chapters, in your regions, and of course, as we call upon you through the National Missions Council to continue to provide support. We have a great vision, but that work is not something that we can do all by ourselves. We need partners. And so I would encourage you, as you go to your churches, as you go to your workplaces, be proud and confident to speak about the work ACF is doing. We're doing great work. And you'll be surprised if you share what ACF is doing with your pastors in your churches. I can tell you that they will be interested and delighted to partner with ACF in the work God has called us and in the work God is using us to do. I'll give you an example. This year alone, my church gave us a donation of $10,000 to my chapter for the missions hospital that we're building in Uganda. Okay, but that's because we've been talking about what ACF is doing, you know, to the church. And so far, the church has given us about $22,000 for the hospital that we're building in Uganda. So I just want to encourage you, be bold to share what ACF is doing with your colleagues at work. Invite them to go with you on missions. Be bold to share what ACF is doing with your pastors and the people that you go to church with. We want to partner with those people. We want to bring them into what God is using ACF to do. But I just want to encourage all of us and to thank you for all the sacrifices that you've been making. You are incredible and you are wonderful. And I just pray that the Lord will bless you in your individual lives and that you will truly know the grace and the favor of the Lord as you make all the sacrifices that you have been making and will continue to make, that truly from the bottom of your hearts, you will say that the Lord is good and that his mercy endures forever, that will be your testimony. So thank you. May the Lord bless you. Brother Sam just mentioned about the Constitution Review Committee. So please, if you're truly invested in ACF, review our Constitution so far and see what you truly think can help us to be more efficient or to be more successful in the structure that we have and in the work God has called us. And feel free to make those recommendations to the committee. Again, the email address is constitutionreview@acfusa.org. constitutionreview@acfusa.org. The committee would like to receive your recommendations and take it into consideration as they revise and amend our Constitution so that we can be positioned for more success going forward. Once again, thank you for all the speakers, the panelists, our hostess, and every person who has attended. God bless you. Chanel, are you still there?
I certainly am. Sorry about that. So with that, we want to thank everyone again for your participation. Again, we will have our speakers and our panelists here for the next 15 minutes or so in case there are any questions that were not answered. Let me just take a look at the list and at the chat to see if there are any other questions that came in. All right, so I only have a couple more questions. For the purpose of missionary sponsorship, are pastors with their own churches who are paid by churches while partnering with ACF considered missionaries? I think that's perhaps a question for Uncle Jimmy, Uncle Linus, or Uncle
Our pastors who are paid by the churches, whether they are considered missionaries?
Correct.
That will be stretching the stretching that word, missionary. Missionaries are typically people who work in all these places, rich places across the globe. People that have left families, relocated, and are now staying in these places, doing a foundational work in order to reach people. Those are the ones that we classify as missionaries. Yeah. People living in big cities, they could be missionaries. There are mobilizers that are actually working from big cities to be able to manage what goes on in the remote parts of any country or continent. Again, those people could be considered missionaries, but I don't think that a pastor in any big city is mostly regarded as a missionary. That's a different category altogether.
Thank you for that. I have a question that indicates, what are the monthly sponsorship funds used for?
Say that again?
What are the monthly sponsorship funds used for?
I guess this is referring to the the missionary sponsorship program. Yeah, that is for their living expenses. You know, just to put bread and water on their table. You know, it's surprising. I mean, you guys know. I mean, you can't run yourself. You can't run your families with with $100. Even for half a day. For the most part. But when you're out here, you'll be surprised how much even $1 goes. I mean, where we work in Malawi is the poorest country in all of Africa, right? And then we select the southern region of Malawi, which is the poorest part of Malawi, right at the border between Malawi and Mozambique. Difficult to get to, very, but again, when you go there, these are people like you and I, and they welcome us. This is a Muslim community, and every year we reap hundreds of converts among these Muslims every single year that we go there. This is they're not radicalized Muslims. They are Muslims, all right, but they are open to the gospel, but so. A missionary walking there, $100 is a lot. They convert it into their, I don't know, by the time you convert like maybe a couple $1,000, you already have like $1 million kwacha. So you only need a few $1,000s to be a millionaire in kwacha, their currency. So the money goes a long way. It helps to take care of their children, to take care of put food on the table, and to get them there on the field doing the work of the gospel. I hope that answers that question.
May I also quickly add that it is a demonstration of also a broader commitment to somebody who is in a very remote place. I know it's $100, but it goes a long way to show them that some people care. Some people out there care about what they do. Sometimes these guys are totally disconnected from anything you consider civilization because they are very far away. in different places in, say, of the world working. A missionary once told us, who is now here with us in Southern California, that even just a visit, because sometimes they are thrown out there and forgotten completely. Nobody comes, nobody shows up. It will surprise you that until Jimmy and Co go to Malawi, that guy has not received any visitor all year. So when you send that money, it demonstrates to them that somebody out there really cares, that God is actually aware that they are here and cares about what they are doing. It's more than $100. You could consider it just $1 million, if you will. It's also a very strong way to send a signal that you care.
And in addition, for example, the ACF, we have ACF Uganda, and they do the missionary work on our behalf. They get onto these motorbikes, they rent actually, they rent or whatever they pay for, including they have the gas, and then they go out to the remote villages where the vehicle cannot drive. And these are some expenses, including food for themselves, but also, you know, they get some food to those remote locations. So your money, when it goes to them, they not only benefit, but others also benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. What is ACF doing about writing grants to access money available to charity organizations during the pandemic?
Sam, do you want to give that a shot?
I will try. I'm assuming that we're talking about the PPP from the federal government. You know, PPP is payroll protection program, and certainly we don't have a payroll to protect, so we're not writing grants for that. To the extent that there are other things available out there to small businesses, you would need to qualify for those. And the way we operate as ACF, we don't qualify for any of those pandemic type monies out there. Now, it doesn't mean that as more things are rolled out in the next few months, especially with the new administration, there might be other policy type grants that we can access, but we're certainly looking at all of those and looking at the things that we may be able to qualify for. The angle that we as ACF need to really be prepared to jump in is when right now we're talking about United States, and a lot of the vaccine efforts are focused on the US, obviously Canada, and the Western world. But pretty soon, at least we hope, the effort will turn to how do we vaccinate Africa and the rest of the developing world. And we can play a big role in helping to implement that in partnership, obviously, with our partners on the ground. But we need to, and we are now beginning to think about what does that mean for ACF? How do we need to position ourselves to be able to help make that happen in Africa? And so when it starts going that direction, we may be able to access some of that fund. At this point, really, as far as the US is concerned, we haven't been in a position to do that. Neither are we qualified to access those funds.
And just to add a little bit to that, beyond those COVID-related funds, there are always funds available that NGOs can access. There is even USAID monies that I mean, for all the faults of the last administration, well, this administration that is leaving, one of the things it has done was made religious organizations, made it easier for religious organizations to participate in the ODA funds. ODA is Overseas Development Assistance Funding through the Department of State. So, So we are qualified actually to do that, you know, to access some of this funding, because we can, if you know, but we're not. This is a growth area for us, and I think that NMC, National Missions Council, along with the new initiatives that Jasper and Brasam are trying to drive through the African ADIC, you know, we're in the process now of working through to sort of establish a development fund, you know, a vehicle for a development fund for Africa, for ACF, you know. It will take maybe another year, I don't know, for the structures to come in place, but we're working. We have a team working on that. When we have those, I think that the opportunity is there for ACF, and we have the expertise, you know. There are people, I don't know who's on the call, but I mean, I can name 10 people right now who are world-class people in terms of writing proposals, you know, for different things, you know. So we know who to contact, we know who to leverage, and we have the expertise, but you've got to be organized to do that. But we're in the process of doing that organization now as ACF USA and positioning ourselves, as Brasam said. So hopefully in a year or two from now, we will, beyond our own resources, we'll be accessing some of this foundation and development assistance funding that's available and that's on the table. And part of positioning ourselves, this is my last comment now, is generating data. So when you write a proposal, you have to be authentic. You have to use data to show what you're doing, how you're doing, you know. So the current survey, right, that baseline survey that the National Missions Council is doing, I want to appeal again to all of our chapter presidents, okay? Please do that survey. Give us the information that we're asking for, because it's the synthesis of that survey that we can use to tell our story in terms of what our current impact is, you know, and then you can then position yourself adequately when you write a grant to do that. So let me leave it there.
I do want to add one comment, general comment. Oftentimes when a question like this is asked and we respond, we obviously will respond from our base of knowledge, right? And there may be one or two people out there who actually know more than we do and have a different perspective. Please don't let our response stop you from giving that input, because if you know something we don't know and that can help us accomplish our vision, please, by all means, speak up, because we need all the help we can get. I just want to say that, because sometimes when we answer questions, we answer them in the finite, and that's not the intention.
Thank you. We have one final question that has come in. What is the process of expanding missions in certain geographic areas we serve? Can we get involved in missions work in the northern parts of Nigeria, where there are a lot of displaced persons as a result of Boko Haram?
I think the key to expansion is to find authentic partners on the ground. So far, we've been involved in what I consider short-term missions, which some people call hit and run. So you have to have people that you trust and partner with them and begin to inch closer and closer to the epicenter of your target. So there are a lot of people, there are multiple organizations. I know Jimmy knows that in Abuja, for instance, that we could target if we want to do that, if that's our aim, to penetrate the north. I know a church in Abuja, a very big church close to Asarok. They have a lot of missionaries in the church who are focused in some of these areas, and people who are displaced. I have information on people who are displaced from all these hotspots that have been moved away and housed in some parts of the north. So we need credible people on the ground, even beyond Abuja or Nigeria, I should say, anywhere in Africa that we want to go. That's why we have to partner with authentic people and they are the ones that will help us reach into those remote places. I remember one Caucasian brother telling me, you guys are better equipped to deal with the weather and all of that, more than two of us were on a mission trip, and this guy was sweating so much. At one point, he turned to me and said, no, Linus, I think you're better equipped for this weather than I am. So some of these guys are better equipped to deal with the hazards of their ground, of their locality, than we are. And when we partner with them, find such people and support them, like we've been saying today, the work will further go inside the interior. And I hope that's where we're targeted.
Yeah, I do want to add a comment on the fact that every one of us as individuals, we certainly can undertake any missions work that we choose to. There's no limitation to what we can do, and many of you already do that. But as far as ACF is concerned, however, we do want to be organized in some way and work within the structure that we have. So if you have an idea of something that you think ACF should get involved with, it would help to start with expressing that, communicating that with your chapter mission director or chapter president, chapter leadership certainly. Some chapters have undertaken missions work on their own outside of what the regions are doing. But a number of those requests may be elevated to regional level, where the region collectively will now decide on whether or not the timing is right to add more to their plate. And we as ACF, the regions are the engines that drive our missions effort. So to the extent that you have an idea, speak to your chapter president, speak to your chapter missions director, and that will be elevated to the regional level if there's a need for that. And then of course the missions council provides oversight and direction for how we go about it. So as we have already talked about, what we're doing so far in ACF, God has really helped us, and we're doing a lot, as Brother Ojuku mentioned. We're doing much more than a lot of organizations who are known as missions organizations out there. But the capacity to do more is there, and we want to do more, and we're looking to all of us to help lift up what we're doing to the next level. So the Vision 2030 is an effort to drive that. And we can do 10 times what we're doing today if we really harness all the resources within our fellowship and within our sphere of influence. And that's the direction we're going. So please don't be shy to bring up ideas. Certainly if you feel much more comfortable accessing me or anybody on the board, that's great. But we encourage you to start with your chapter, walk through your chapter, your region, and let's try to work together to make sure that we are organized and that we're working together as we see all these opportunities. One final point I want to make is, those of you who have gone through the ACF, has been ACF for some time, you will recognize that 99% of our membership is Nigerian. And we thank God for that. We certainly want to be as diverse as we can be, and we want to encourage others to join us. But we thank God for raising up a group of people who have continued to pour their lives into this mission work, into the work of ACF. So 99, well, maybe I'll say 95. The other 5% are from Ghana. But 99% of the work that we do, as far as mission is concerned, is not in Nigeria. ACF is in Uganda, ACF is in Malawi, ACF is in Sierra Leone, in Central African Republic, in Congo. We did some work in Sudan. We have very little footprint in Nigeria. And it's not because we intend to neglect Nigeria, but we go where God calls. And for this moment, the Lord has opened the doors that we go into these other places. And we'll continue to go. When he drives us to Nigeria, we'll go there as well. But thank God that the church in Nigeria is alive and vibrant and doing some great work as well. So I wanted to make sure that at least we understand that that context of who we are and what our vision is. And the Lord will continue to expand our coast and give us the grace to do even more. So I will ask us to.
Sam, I have a final comment to this question. ACF East region, we are expanding to Sudan. And
Sudan, okay.
Yes, and I'm the focal point for that. So I've been nominated by my mission director. So it's feasibility studies, partnership, and relationship, if you want to do these things. So I see Pastor Paul Akon on the line. They have enormous working across Uganda and also in Sudan. So I've been working with him, and there are others organizations in Sudan that we're working close with. So all this to expand, you have to really have partnership, because you have to have boots on the ground, and they are those that can assist. Also, for example, the ACF did the conference called the Persecuted Churches, and we brought people all over from different parts of the world, including Mali. So now we have a relationship with Mali. And the other day I spoke to Brother Elisha. He was so excited, because he said that's the vision God gave him. He was looking for somebody to go to Mali. So it's all relationship and partnership. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much, everyone. And Chinelo, once again, excellent work. Panelists, thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. I know that there's still 100 people left on the line. Thank God for all of you for your commitment. My chapter president, Brother Adic Bajayi, I see you. God bless you. I see my regional president from the South region, Brother Emmanuel Onalaru. God bless all of you. I can't mention everyone who's on the line, but this has been wonderful. Next month, the next in our series will deal with nonprofit legal framework. Now, we'll talk about some of the things we want to do, how we want to do them, and some aspirational goals that we have. But a key to being successful is really making sure that we're structured correctly, that we are on sound legal footing, and the foundation, not just spiritually, but legally is solid, so we can then go on to accomplish those aspirations. And next month, we'll be talking about some of the things that chapter leaders, regional leaders need to pay attention to make sure that we are on sound legal footing as we begin to launch out to do all of these things that God has called us to do. If you will indulge me, 2 more minutes. I want to ask you, is Tassier still on the line? I know he dialed in earlier, but Tassier, if it's on mute though, he may not be able to respond. Why don't we unmute everybody, if that's possible? Are we all unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, Tassier on the line? Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you, Bishop.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, maybe he's not there anymore. Maybe he
saw him online though.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah.
Tassier, you may want to unmute yourself. Okay, he may not be. Okay, I'm not hearing him, but I wanted to have him quickly introduce himself. But Tassier was the founder of ACF Atlanta, Georgia, and the first president of ACF Atlanta. He's currently the pastor of Assemblies of God in Lagos, Ajawa Estate Assemblies of God in Lagos. And he will be speaking tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And that information has been posted on the leadership site, on the WhatsApp leadership site, as well as the email that you received during the week. And I would just want to encourage as many as are able to join in that call. Is a wonderful brother, and I've had the privilege of speaking with him a few times since he arrived in the US. But please, if you have time, please join that call tomorrow, and we'll look for other opportunities to engage with him in the future. A lot of our leaders from the 80s, 70s and 80s, we are finding ways to reconnect with them, and they are finding ways to reconnect with us. And a lot of them are very experienced in ministry work. And we believe that this reconnection really will help us to accomplish God's vision for ACF.
Yes. Can you hear me, Sam?
Oh, well, I say yes. Is that you?
Mute.
There you go. Yes. Well, you're on mute now. You're back on mute. Let's get you on. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm not mute yet.
Now, okay. Now you're on. Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. How are you, Brother Sam?
I'm doing well, and I'm sure everybody else is doing well too.
Thank you. It's just that it's cold, very cold here.
Well, we're not going to talk about that, Bratasia, because you're in Arkansas, so you can't be complaining about cold. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to say hello to the brethren, and hopefully they can join tomorrow.
Thank you. I listened through the program and I was very, very impressed. I thank God for what you are doing in the mission field. It has been so encouraging to have many of you have the heart for missions, especially in Africa. And God will bless you and reward you greatly. We have had privilege of hosting some of the missionaries from the chapter in Atlanta when they come to Nigeria, and they have done great job. God bless them. And we look forward to having that more in future. We are thinking of having a liaison office in Lagos for ACF, and that will help those that come on mission field to use it as a launching pad as they go. And I will be there in person to encourage as many as will come and be of assistance when necessary. Thank you very much. I'll be speaking tomorrow, and I believe as many as we join will be blessed in it. God bless you. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All righty. Chinelo, are we done? I'll turn it back over to you, but I think we essentially have gone past our time by 34 minutes. So I appreciate everybody who stayed.
Yes, we are finished for today. Thank you so much, everyone.
One more thing I forgot. I keep forgetting stuff. Tonight, the prayer team has called for a special prayer meeting tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I don't know if any one of them is on the line right now, but that announcement went out on the WhatsApp platform for the chapter leaders, as well as the email that went out during the week. But if you can join, please join tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Usually the prayer team meets at 10 p.m. Eastern time, but for today it will be 9 p.m., 9 to 10 Eastern time. And we'll repost it again this afternoon just to make sure that everyone gets that information. But I just want to take a moment to remind us of that. Thank you. I'm done now with all this stuff I forgot.
Well, I was just asked to share the presentation or the ad for tomorrow, so I will share that, and you all may take a picture of it as you are leaving today's session. And I'll just thank everyone again for being a part of this session, and hope that you all have a good rest of your day.